Hare Krishna, you can start with it.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so I think the one thing I have to say is that it's very difficult after you get such a glowing, preamble to who you are and like what you are and all these things. After that to speak, it's very embarrassing. Um, and uh, and so I'm going to for a minute just give a caveat saying that Vijay Prabhu is a very dear friend and he's known me for a very long time, and therefore obviously he will have the best things to say about me. But I would request that everyone else please lower their expectation a little bit, because the reason why I'm such a rare soul to come on to give a class is because I really don't know how to give classes or what to speak. So that's why I don't give it. It's not because I
Right.
don't. I really, giving a class, sitting on a Vyasasana, talking to people, accepting their love, their adoration, their respect. I mean, it's a great place to be. Believe me, everyone enjoys it. I would personally enjoy it very much. I don't do it because I don't think I'm very good at doing it. But that being said, I think when Vijay Madhaprabhu spoke to me about having this, I would like to say conversation, not class, because it reduces the pressure on me. Because class implies that there's some teaching going on, and teaching implies that the other person has to know something to begin with. But I think the reason why I agreed to have this conversation with all the devotees who are aspiring to become servants of Krishna is that it's a topic that is very dear to my heart, like Vijay Prabhu said. And I mean, Prahlad Maharaj, of course, talks about the 9 processes of devotional service. I'm sure you've heard about them. Have they heard about that, Vijay Prabhu?
They have, but you can just outline so that they
So,
will remember.
so
Yeah.
Prahlad Maharaj, when he talks about he's preaching, and Prahlad Maharaj talks about the 9 processes of devotional service, Navadha Bhakti, we call it. In Navadha Bhakti, he talks about the 9 different ways in which we can serve Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada in his books has time and time again he has referred to this verse. And and I remember one verse very specifically from the Bhagavad Gita. I'm not sure which chapter at this point, but I remember reading the purport where Srila Prabhupada talks about that even in their life, if a devotee can perfect one of these 9 processes of devotional service, uh, their ticket back home, back to Godhead is guaranteed. And I remember hearing this actually much earlier, much earlier in life, and I remember thinking that okay, that's good, because then I can, there is something I'm interested in. There is uh, what is called as archanam. So there is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Swaranam, Vishnur, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. So these 9 processes of devotional service, amongst them one is called Archanam. And Archanam means worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his deity form or in the form of the Archa Vigraha. Archa Vigraha literally translates into the worshipable form of the Lord, or what I think in more simple language we call the Murti or the Lord's Vigraha, Thakurji. There are many different ways that are used to sweetly address the Lord in the deity form, but yeah, Archanam refers to that. And it's one of the most important processes of 9 devotional service that Prabhupada talks about. And and Srila Prabhupada has referred to deity worship many times throughout his preachings, throughout his books, throughout his writings, and one can sort of find a lot of inspiration there. Uh, so to me personally, I'm very inspired by this service. While all these services, all these angs of bhakti, the Navada bhakti are perfect and wonderful in and of themselves. To me personally, Archana is very dear to my heart. So I thought maybe it might be a good idea to sort of talk to everyone about my, I would like to say the word realizations, but they're not very mature. So I would call them epiphanies, I think, because realizations is a word that is used in terms of something that is very paripakwa, to something that is very mature. Um, so yeah, no realizations really, but just epiphanies and thoughts. So to begin with, I would like to ask everyone, and my style is very conversational, so I want everyone to sort of unmute and converse when possible. Uh, how many of us in the last 1.5 years have, met someone for the first time over Zoom or Google Meets or over some such platform, and then met them in person in the last 1.5 years? Any colleagues, friends, I don't know, fiancés, maybe anyone who we've established a relationship with first over Zoom or over a digital medium and then met them in person. Has that happened with any one of us in the last
Yes,
year
with
and a
me,
half?
sir. Prabhuji,
What
with me. I'm
what happened?
Kavita Naik. Yeah, I'm working as a program manager for a training center where I met Priya Mataji, and
Okay.
she has made me the part of this ISKCON group. So
Okay.
I'm very happy. So I I want to share this. So I met
But
her first, and then we met on Zoom.
okay, you met her in person first, then on Zoom.
Yes,
But
Prabhuji.
has it ever happened ulta where you've met the
Yes,
person?
yes, Prabhuji. So for with me, I met Priya on Zoom during my yoga teacher training,
Okay.
and after many months, I got a chance to meet her in ISKCON Juhu temple.
Okay.
So yeah. So I
How
met
was
her
the
after.
experience? Was the Priya you met on Zoom a little different from the Priya you met in person?
No, she was same, but the only thing is, I felt the connection more when you meet in personal. I could bond with her even on the Zoom because it just clicked. But when I met in person, there was a different kind of vibe, which I never told her that. But yeah, there was a different kind of vibe. Yeah.
Do you think you got to know her better in person when you met her? Was there somehow could you
Yeah,
just
I can say that it would add a little bit more to knowing her better. Yeah.
okay?
Meeting her personally.
Anybody else? Anyone else who's had this meeting for the first time digitally and then in person?
Prabhuji, let me add one more thing. I was not knowing that Priya came to the training when I met her on Zoom. So she was new for me. After a few meetings, she told me that I met you in the training center. Some discussion was there, and then I came to know that she got me from there. I mean, from training institute, she got my number and she added me in this group. So it was nice experience, Prabhuji.
I can see Priya has raised her hand. Priya Mataji?
Yes, it happened with me. Like now, Patri Prabhuji is my god brother. So initially, I would just hear him online. But when I met him in person, when I saw him, his dealings with Vijay Madhav Prabhuji and his complete attitude, I was like, okay, wow, this is nice. He's all about service. He's doing what he's saying. His Vijay Madhav Prabhuji and Patri Prabhuji spoke only about service. I mean, the entire conversation that we heard was only services, books. Even Shelza, we all were there, right, Shelza? I mean, there were a lot of conversations beside all this. We played games. Prabhuji, you were there, right? Apurva Prabhuji. It was all about Krishna. Yeah, it was all only about Krishna. So when I think about Patri Prabhuji, the first thing that goes across my mind is service. Like he will not talk anything but service. Vijay Madhav Prabhuji, being my brother-in-law, he comes home with only service, nothing else.
Might talk a lot of other things as well.
but that's good because I think so. I'm just gonna go back to the points that were mentioned. I'm sorry I missed your name, Mataji, who was giving the realization. But I think what happens is when we're establishing a relationship with Krishna, a lot of times we start our relationship with Krishna through Shravan and Kirtan. We listen to the glories of Krishna, we listen to the holy name. We chant the holy name, we do Kirtan, we chant the glories of Krishna. And that is a lot of times our introduction to Krishna. And I want to say this very unambiguously that actually there is no difference between Krishna's holy name and Krishna himself. Abhinatvam name namena, Shastra says, right? There is no difference between the holy name of Krishna and Krishna himself. When we are chanting the holy name, when we are glorifying Krishna, when we are talking about his glories, he is very much there. He is very much there to reciprocate. He is very much there to understand our relationship with him. We can have a relationship with the holy name, but it requires a lot of dedication. I know personally I have struggled with finding that relationship with the holy name. I'm sure a lot of devotees who are practicing find that struggle a little bit because I think for us, as much as we may hear about the glories of the holy name, when it actually comes to experiencing them, because the holy name is intangible, the glories of the Lord are intangible. It requires our mind to be committed in a very large way, and we know that's a challenge for a lot of us. It's a challenge for even Arjuna, because in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about it, right? And if you haven't read it already, you will read going forward that Arjuna complains to Krishna that my mind is so fickle. I can control the wind, but I can't control my mind. Um, so when trying to meditate on the holy name and trying to realize the holy name, it requires that our mind be completely committed to it, and that becomes a very big challenge because our minds are not in control of ourselves oftentimes, right? And therefore, one of the offenses that happens during chanting, and a lot of us struggle with this, I'm sure, even on a day-to-day basis when we do our japa, is that we're chanting inattentively, because it's just really difficult to chant attentive rounds. As much as we may try hard, as much as we may pray, the effort is very large. Deity worship is a little bit more tangible in that sense, because Krishna appears himself in his personal form. So in Shravanam, we can hear about Krishna's beautiful lotus face. We can try to very hard associate Krishna's holy names with that lotus face, with those beautiful hands, with his body, with his feet, with his decorations. But we find it very hard to do because it's intangible and we are not that realized, perhaps. At least I am not. But when Krishna is there in front of you, physically present, the lotus feet that the Shastras are glorifying, the lotus face that that everyone in Braj, everyone in the world is swooning over, his decorations that are so beautiful are tangibly visible. They're tangibly there, and you can see it, you can realize it, and you can partake of serving that lotus, that form of the Lord, which is so physical. And therefore, in a lot of ways, just like Shravan and Kirtan, Archanam also becomes that important for us, because it helps establish that relationship with the holy name that much better. Just like when you meet someone on a digital medium, we have some sense, of who they are as a person, or what they're like, or what their nature is like. But when you meet them in person, that relationship is totally different. Like, for all you know, I mean, I don't know how many of you have actually met Partha Prabhu in real, but for all you know, he may actually just be a torso, and there might be nothing below that. You have no way of knowing that. I mean, one makes assumptions, of course, but my point is that physical realization of a person, of who they are. So Priya Mataji, you may know that Partha Prabhu is really a great devotee who likes serving. But if you want to serve Partha Prabhu through Zoom, through Google Chats, you may not be able to do it. If you know, for example, theoretically that Partha Prabhu likes parathas, and you want to honor him or serve him by making him some parathas and feeding them to him, you can't do that. It's difficult for you. The gesture may be accepted by Partha Prabhu, but we are just so much more used to watching him eat and get satisfied by that gesture, right? The Archa Vigraha of the Lord, the deity from the Lord, allows us to do that. So really, if in Prabhupada's words, the Archa Vigraha form is an incarnation of the Lord's mercy, where he so kindly accepts to, appear before us in a physical form, in a form that we can tangibly perceive, in a form that we can touch, in a form that our eyes can see, a form that our fingers can touch, our bodies can serve. And it's a very big mercy, actually, if you think about it, because and Krishna is all merciful. I'm sure we've all heard this, we all realize this in our lives, but Krishna is truly all merciful. There is no question of Krishna's mercy. And so therefore, when he appears in any form, it's merciful. The holy name especially is merciful, because Krishna allows us to associate with the holy name, wherever we are, however we are, in whatever state we are. The minute we chant Krishna's name, when we say Krishna, he's physically there, and that's amazing. But we may not be able to perceive that form of the Lord, because that's our limitation. We're just so used to seeing things materially that I can only see a form. These eyes can only see a form that is made of material elements. Have we discussed the Pancha Mahabhut, the five, that conversation has happened already?
Yeah.
Right? So we know that these senses, they can perceive that which is made of earth, water, fire, air, ether, and anything beyond we have no way of perceiving it. The holy name is like that also. It's just the sound vibration of the holy name. The Lord is there. I cannot physically perceive it as much, as well, perhaps. The deity form of the Lord, the Archa form, is different because Krishna decides that, for my servants, for those devotees who love me, for those devotees who really want to serve me, I will appear in a form that they can very easily see, perceive, experience through their senses and serve. And so I think the Archa form is wonderful. It's it's a beautiful form of, it's a beautiful way to associate with Krishna. It's a beautiful way to deepen our relationship with Krishna. It's a way to realize, to focus our attention, to focus our effort, to focus our time, our money, because this whole Krishna consciousness movement, what Vijay Madhav Prabhu, Partha Prabhu, what they're trying to do through Evolve now, what Priya Mataji is trying to do by sort of trolling everyone to come join this group, whatever number she finds. What we're really trying to do is we want everyone to become Krishna conscious. We want everyone to be thinking about Krishna all the time. And it's difficult because realistically speaking, we have a lot to think about. We have our bodies to take care of. We have work. We have relatives, friends. We have an entire material creation behind us that needs taking care of. And there's no denying that it needs our care. There's no denying that. It's very easy to say कि अरे ये सब तो माया है प्रभु, नहीं चाहिए. हाँ है, माया तो है, but असली है ना. And commitments हैं, you can't. And I don't know how many of us are as renounced to be able to say, you know what, I'm just gonna wrap up this material business and completely dedicate myself to Krishna. It's not really possible. So we need to find hacks. We need to find ways to be as Krishna conscious as possible in the limited time frame that we have. And I think deity worship, Archa Vigraha Seva, I like to use the word Seva more than deity worship, so I'm going to use that word. Service to the deity form of the Lord is a very good way to do that, because when the Lord is physically present and you have a relationship with them, with the Lord, with the deities there, you find yourself more and more becoming committed to them. You find yourself more and more being able to anchor your life around them. If I don't have deities at home and I don't have a commitment to their service, I can wake up whenever I want. I may choose to not shower in the morning because सेवा तो नहीं करनी है, तो it's okay. And हरिनाम करने के लिए नहाने की actually जरूरत नहीं है. You can brush your teeth and chant. It's okay. You can choose to not eat prasadam. You can choose to not cook at home and offer to the Lord. You can just Zomato or Swiggy something, because without onion garlic आराम से खाना मिल जाता है कहीं पे भी, right? When there is no deity at home, or when there is no commitment to worshipping the deity at home, you can find a lot of excuses to not be Krishna conscious, basically. And the mind will offer us excuses to not be Krishna conscious. That's the job of the mind, to sort of get influenced by Maya, to get into the material nature, and constantly remind us that, what, Krishna consciousness is great, and it's great on a Saturday afternoon at 11. It's great, on Janmashtami, Radhashtami, Rath Yatra, and every time in between, it's all right to have going on in the background, in the back burner, it's fine. But we need to live this life full time. That whole, it's very easy to fall into that trap of that narrative. Personally, for me, I found that deity worship helps us get grounded in thinking about Krishna, even when we may not necessarily be imposed to doing it. I'll give you an example of how that happens. When you have the deities at home, and I don't know how many of you have deities at home, but when there is a seva at home, when there is a deity at home, you know that you have to wake up and wake the Lord up, because if you don't do it, no one else is going to do it. The Lord will remain sleeping. And that's a big thing, because when the Lord personally appears in your house, he is completely reliant on your care. So if you wake him up, he wakes up. If you don't, he remains sleeping. If you feed him, he eats. If you don't feed him, he doesn't. If you, if you dress him, if you bathe him, he gets cleaned and dressed up. If you don't, he doesn't. And that kind of dependency that Krishna has on his devotees, we hear of this in Bhagavatam. We hear of this in our stories of Krishna. We hear about how Krishna completely gives himself to his devotees, right? And it's a great idea. But through deity worship, through Archanam, you have a chance to experience Krishna's dependency on you. We are constantly dependent on Krishna all the time, whether we realize it or not. And that's a whole other conversation we can have. But this entire material creation, our lives, our material lives, our spiritual lives, our remaining in this material world are being liberated from it. All these things are completely dependent on Krishna. We may not realize it, that's a different thing, but it is. But Krishna being dependent on us, that realization is something that is very rare. That is a realization that only pure devotees in the Bhagavatam have had. Mother Yashoda has that realization that Krishna is completely dependent on her. That if she ties him up and disallows him from doing something, he can't. It's as simple as that. And when we talk about Krishna, we have to remind ourselves, this is the Lord and the Master of the entire universe. Everything we see around us, everything we perceive, everything we interact with has been created by what he says in the Bhagavad Gita. Again, 10th chapter, you will come to it. Krishna says that everything that is glorious and wonderful in the world exists by but a spark of my splendor. Isn't that the verse? That's the translation. By a spark of Krishna's splendor. Everything we see around us is created and maintained. That Krishna, when Mother Yashoda decides, is being too naughty, is being too difficult, is being misbehaved, gets tied up, and then anything he wants to do is stopped. He is completely dependent on the mercy of Mother Yashoda. That kind of dependence that Krishna has, that kind of surrender that Krishna has to his devotees, that is what makes him the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is why he is different. That is why he is glorious. That is why he is wonderful. Because it's impossible for anyone else who is not the Supreme Lord to be completely dependent on somebody. And I would want all of us to think about this for a minute from our own perspective. In the material world, everything is about control. We love control. We love having satta, having power, having influence. As whoever we are, even in our smallest capacities, we love having that influence. But above that feeling of power, the feeling of greatness, the feeling of control, above that is the feeling of love, which is completely giving up control and allowing the people who love us to take care of us. That is Krishna. And that is what Krishna does with his purest devotees. Having Krishna's deity at home, having the Archa Vigraha form at home of the Lord is an opportunity that Krishna is giving us to experience that pure love. It is an opportunity where Krishna is allowing us to be he's being completely dependent on us and our mercy, so to speak. That's why it's so glorious. And that's why it's so important, because if for a minute we can realize that Krishna, who is sitting at home behind our closed curtains in our wooden temple, in a little corner of our homes, is actually completely dependent on us and really is waiting for us to come reciprocate with him in a physical form, to wake him up, to bathe him, to dress him, to cook for him. For a minute, if one gets that realization, our entire life can change. The way we lead our entire life, the way we go about our entire day can change if we just simply realize that when Krishna appears in that form, he's appearing for us. He doesn't need to do it. I know this has been said several times over, but I'm going to reiterate a very old, tired thought that, Krishna doesn't really need anything. He is the Supreme Person. I've got it. He doesn't need our 2 laddus and the tulsi patta in a bowl. He doesn't need 15 coconuts on our kid's birthday. He doesn't need us to wave a fire in front of him. He doesn't need any of that. He really doesn't. He has everything you can imagine and so much more, right? But the fact that he is coming and accepting this from us, he is allowing us to serve him with everything we have, with the best that we can do, and accepting that as everything. So I was hearing this lecture once about Krishna's kindness and how grateful Krishna is. I think this is again a very common theme you will find in Bhagavatam and in our Acharya's writings, right? That Krishna is extremely grateful for the devotees. That even once if someone chants Krishna's names, even once if someone asks something from Krishna, it's not even about giving Krishna something. Even if you ask Krishna for something, he feels immediately indebted. He feels immediately, responsible for you. Imagine if you give something to Krishna. He's completely sold. Completely. And to be honest, Krishna is not even seeing if you're offering the best you have. Krishna is just seeing you offer something. That's why if you see Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhakta Panashyati. He says it with devotion. If you offer me anything, a leaf, a flower, a fruit, some water, I will accept it. The reason why he's given these 4 things is because these are what used to be very easily accessible, simple things that everyone has at some point in their life, right, with them. But even if that you give to Krishna, he accepts it with gratitude. What to speak of if you offer the best to Krishna? Can you imagine how much in gratitude of you he would be then? Imagine if, sure, Tulsi Bhatta and apple is great, but if your best thing could be, you are famous at making apple crumble pie or something, and you made that for Krishna and offered, can you imagine how grateful he is? Because he knows that's the best you can do. And the fact that you're doing that, Krishna is watching that. He is paying attention to you. I can tell all of you who've joined this class that if you've come in contact with Krishna, he is paying very personal attention to you. There are 30 of us in this room right now, right? It's a Saturday afternoon. Around the world, around India, people are doing all sorts of things. There are people at brunch. There are people who are still sleeping. There are people who are, watching Netflix. There are people who are, working. Sad people who don't have weekends off. But just generally, people are doing things. There are 30 of us who decided that we're going to commit an hour and a half to come together and talk about Krishna. That says something. That says Krishna is listening to us. He is personally involved with us. So if we decide that we want to serve him and we decide to offer him our very best in his deity form, Krishna will be very grateful to us and he will accept that love and he will sort of reciprocate with us. And in that reciprocation, our relationship with Krishna will grow deeper. We will get to know him better. We will understand his nature more. And Krishna's nature is such that if you actually become dear to him, if you have some sort of reciprocation with him, that love will only further deepen. And that I think is a great proposition to, to be engaged with Krishna in such a one-on-one basis. Deity worship at home actually is very simple. It's not very complex. And Prabhupada talks about it at different points when he's talking about deity worship. It's actually very simple. It's not too complex. The rule of thumb basically is that you do the best you can. And you do what is pleasing to Krishna. So the best you can is something that Krishna doesn't like, don't do that. Do the next best thing. But as much as possible to do for Krishna, you do that. You do it to the best of your capability. You do it with as much cleanliness as possible, as much hygiene as possible. You don't wear a mask and gloves, that's Corona stuff, but just as nicely as you can, as cleanly as you can. If you can serve Krishna, I think it's very simple. I'm sure all of you already have mandirs or altars at home, and in that altar, I'm sure already all of you have a picture of Krishna or a deity of Krishna or both. Once that's in place, and if you don't, please set it up. Vijay Madhav will definitely help you out with that. But once that's done, have a schedule around that. Try putting your mandir, your Krishna at the center of your life as much as possible, whenever you can. So wake up in the morning, take a shower, at least spend some time chanting in front of the Lord. If you can, offer some bhog to the Lord. Bhog can be something as simple as a glass of milk, some fruit. It can be as elaborate as a 6-course meal. That's really up to you and what you can do. But at the very least, have some sort of consistency of saying, okay, at least 8 a.m. every morning, I will chant one round in front of Krishna and I will offer some fruit and a glass of milk, which I will then partake as prasadam for my breakfast. Once you do that, and I know that Vijay Madhav already has deities at home, Parthiv Prabhu I'm guessing has, and I'm sure a lot of us do. Those of us who do have deities at home, I'm sure have had the realization of how completely fulfilling that is, of having that one-on-one relation with Krishna, because you will begin to see and you will begin to experience that gratitude of Krishna. There's very little that can be said in words about this, because it is really the proof of the pudding is in the eating. But offering that simple offering to Krishna and making time for it, having some schedule to do it, that's really nice. So in the morning time, in the afternoon, again around lunchtime, if you can spend 5 minutes at least. Many of us I know are working, and lunchtime is very rushed. I know for me personally, it is like that, where lunchtime is really rushed because you get about 30 minutes off in between to grab a meal. But in those 30 minutes, if we can spend 5 minutes in the beginning to offer our lunch to Krishna and then eat it as prasadam, and then again in the evening, as we end our day, if we can spend some time maybe doing kirtan in front of the Lord, maybe chanting, maybe reading Bhagavad Gita in front of Krishna, maybe reading Krishna book in front of Krishna, glorifying him. I think that's an excellent opportunity. It's very simple, really. And if you come to any ISKCON temple, you'll realize that deity worship is very elaborate. The way we do it in temples is very, very elaborate. We have like in our Radha Raspai temple in Juhu, we have a team of about 15 people dedicated completely to the service of Radha Ras Bihari. Like that is all they do, day in, day out. That is their job. It's amazing. It's amazing how, when I say job, I mean that's their service. But it's amazing how dedicated they are. But that's the temple. We can do that in the temple. While that is inspiring to us, the one thing I think a lot of people become fearful about having deities at home is कि मंदिर जैसा हम लोग नहीं कर पाएंगे, वो तो बहुत elaborate है, बहुत टाइम से चलता है, उतना सफाई से हम नहीं कर पाएंगे, हमारे घर पे लोग सपोर्टिव नहीं हैं, हमारा किचन बहुत छोटा है, बहुत सारे प्रैक्टिकल रीजंस हैं. बट मंदिर की तरह करने की जरूरत नहीं है. कर सकते हैं, अगर किसी की क्षमता है, अगर कोई कर सकता है तो कीजिए, किसी को टाइम है तो बिल्कुल कीजिए, बहुत जरूरी है, बहुत अच्छा है. अगर नहीं कर सकते हैं तो the simplest that you can do, that I think is very, very important to make time to do, because the more that you sort of engage in the service, the more you will realize that Krishna is actually present there. Have you told him the story of Sakshi Gopal?
No, you can go ahead and share.
Haven't? Okay. So, a lot of us, and I want to say one more thing before I start this very inspiring story to me personally. This whole idea, if anyone has, that Krishna's deity form or any deity form is only representative. It is only some way to focus our mind, but मतलब उतना कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. It's just some indicative semiotic representation of the Supreme Lord. ऐसा कुछ भी है ना, तो वो आप छोड़ दीजिए. Very, very important. Forget it. That's not true. It's a very impersonal philosophy propagated by very lazy people who don't want to do anything physically. ऐसे लोगों ने फिलॉसफी प्रोपेगेट की है और बाकी लेजी लोगों ने उस फिलॉसफी को गले लगा लिया है कि हाँ मतलब ये जो ऑल्टर है, मंदिर है, फोटो है, मंदिर है, ये सब जरूरी नहीं है. स्पिरिचुअलिटी इज इन द हार्ट, इट्स इन द माइंड. ये तो बहुत एक कुछ नेबुलस सा कॉन्सेप्ट है, वो तो बहुत जरूरी है, इसको छोड़ दीजिए. स्पिरिचुअलिटी के बारे में कुछ भी नेबुलस नहीं है. इंटेंजिबिलिटी है, वो इंटेंजिबिलिटी इसीलिए है क्योंकि हमारा रियलाइजेशन स्ट्रांग नहीं है, बट दैट डजंट मीन दैट कृष्णा का कोई फिजिकल फॉर्म नहीं है, या उस फिजिकल फॉर्म का महत्व उतना नहीं है, या उस फॉर्म की जब सेवा हो रही है तो वहां पे रिसोर्स वेस्टेज हो रहा है। मैंने बहुत सारी चीजें सुनी है एज समवन हु आल्सो लाइक विजय माधव सर मैनेजेस द डेटी डिपार्टमेंट जुहू में। हमें बहुत बार सुनने को मिलता है कि अरे यार आप मूर्ति को बहुत खर्चा करते हो। एंड आई वांट टू ऑनेस्टली आस्क, यहाँ पे किसी के माइंड में भी ऐसा ख्याल आया है क्या? बिकॉज अगर आया है तो वी नीड टू फर्स्ट वर्क ऑन दैट एंड देन वी विल टेल दीज वंडरफुल स्टोरीज। बट हैज एनीवन थॉट दैट अरे इस्कॉन टेंपल में मूर्ति को तो बहुत खर्चा होता है?
No.
Okay, so good. No one has thought that. That's great because वो मूर्ति नहीं है, वो स्वयं कृष्ण है ना? जब स्वयं कृष्ण वहां पे हैं तो उनके सामने खर्चा और ये वेस्ट ऑफ टाइम, वेस्ट ऑफ एफर्ट, बहुत मेहनत, 10 बार नाना फालतू, ये जो चीजें हैं ना, ये कॉन्वर्सेशन बहुत छोटी लगने लगती है। और जो लोग ऐसी कॉन्वर्सेशंस करते हैं या आपके साथ अगर कोई ऐसी कॉन्वर्सेशन करता है तो आपको फंडामेंटली समझ जाना चाहिए कि उनका माइंडसेट कहाँ पे है। आई नो ये बातें बहुत बोलने में बहुत नॉट सो स्वीट और बहुत कड़वी लगती हैं सुनने में, लेकिन द फैक्ट ऑफ द मैटर इज दैट हम अप्रिशिएट नहीं कर सकते, वो हमारा प्रॉब्लम है। हमें समझ नहीं आता, हमसे होता नहीं है, वो हमारा प्रॉब्लम है। बट उस प्रॉब्लम की वजह से एक वेल एस्टैब्लिश सिस्टम जो कि भागवत में लिखा हुआ है, उस सिस्टम को काटने की या तोड़ने की या उस पे टीका करने का अधिकार हमारा नहीं है ना? तो अगर आपको कोई भी कहे कि यू नो ओह डीटी वर्शिप वेस्ट ऑफ टाइम, ओह डीटी वर्शिप ये तो सिंबॉलिक है, मंदिर सिंबॉलिक है, मंदिर में एक्चुअली जाते हैं तो बहुत वो एनर्जी का केंद्र है। वहां पे एक्चुअली जो मूर्ति है वो कोई भी मूर्ति हो सकती है, किसी भी की हो सकती है, आप सेवा करो ना करो, वो एक एनर्जी केंद्र है जहां से आपको एनर्जी मिलेगी। ये बकवास, ठीक है? हाँ एनर्जी केंद्र है क्योंकि वहां पे भगवान स्वयं है, वो इंपॉर्टेंट है। द फैक्ट दैट वहां से एनर्जी मिल रही है, मन को शांति मिल रही है, ऑल दैट इज ग्रेट, बट रिमेंबर वो सब इसलिए इंपॉर्टेंट है क्योंकि वहां पे भगवान है, वो भगवान का घर है। आप ऑब्वियसली अगर किसी राजा के घर पे जाएंगे और वहां पे एकदम तेज एसी चल रहा होगा और हवे में अत्तर के फवारे लगे होंगे तो आपको तो खुशबू आएगी, बट वो महल, वो घर, वो राजा आपके एक्सपीरियंस के लिए नहीं है ताकि आपको अत्तर के फवारे की खुशबू इसीलिए नहीं है। वो आपको वो मंदिर, वो सुंदरता, वो एसी राजा के लिए है, और उनके होते उनके चलते वहां पे बाकी आपको जो अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस आता है, जो एनर्जी महसूस होती है, जो मन को शांति महसूस होती है, वो इसलिए होती है क्योंकि वहां पे कृष्ण है, वहां पे वो राजा बैठा है। मंदिर में आते वहां पे क्योंकि भगवान है, भगवान की मूर्ति और वहां पे भगवान की सेवा हो रही है, इसलिए इसका एक्सपीरियंस होता है, इसलिए मंदिर इतने इंपॉर्टेंट होते हैं। तो ये तो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बात है कि when Krishna is coming in his Archavigraha form, it is the Supreme Lord himself, it is nobody else. He is coming completely dependent on us. And बहुत सारे लोग मेरे से ये भी सवाल करते हैं कि अच्छा हम लोग घर पे मंदिर बनाते हैं, सेवा नहीं करते हैं, तो भगवान हमें कोई दंड क्यों नहीं देते हैं? फिर भगवान ने तो दंड देने चाहिए ना। तो इसीलिए हम प्रूव करते हैं, therefore hence proved, कि भगवान एक्चुअली अर्चविग्रह में नहीं है, क्योंकि हम सेवा नहीं करेंगे तो दंड नहीं मिलता है, कुछ हमें अपराध नहीं लगता है। उन लोगों को मैं कहना चाहूंगा कि भगवान उस अर्चविग्रह की अवतार में आए ही इसीलिए हैं क्योंकि उनको आपके लिए करुणा है। He has appeared in that form because he is merciful on you. तो अगर वही अर्चविग्रह आपसे रूठ के बैठ जाए कि अरे यार मेरे को नहीं खिलाया 2 दिन, जाओ इसका पूरा संसार भ्रष्ट कर दो, खत्म कर दो, तो वो तो बहुत एंटीथीसिस हो जाएगा ना, उनके मूड के अगेंस्ट हो जाएगा ना वो। भगवान जब आए ही, he has come to show his mercy to you. You may choose to be unkind to him, you may choose to ignore him. That doesn't mean he's going to become unkind to you. So if anyone is using that corollary that oh हमने तो बहुत देखा है लोगों के घर में बड़े बड़े मंदिर बने हैं, वो लोग सेवा नहीं करते हैं तो भी सब कुछ ठीक है, तो मतलब एक्चुअली भगवान मूर्ति कुछ नहीं होता, ये सब ऐसे ही केंद्र बिंदु है, लोग बोलते हैं, सुना होगा ना सबने कि डीटी का फॉर्म, ये कृष्णा की इमेज, ये एक्चुअली हमारे माइंड के लिए केंद्र बिंदु है। हाँ है, बट सिर्फ केंद्र बिंदु नहीं है, वो भगवान है, वो आपकी सेवा एक्सेप्ट करने के लिए आए हैं, और इसलिए हमें अपना माइंड केंद्रित करना चाहिए वहां पे। It is not some token, it is not some, that I think is a conversation that really personally, I've gone on this ranting session because personally to me I get very upset when people say this, because it's very sad and it's very ungrateful when someone is coming so kindly to us and that we say ki nahi itna important nahi hai, theek hai, thank you but no thank you. So I think in Shastra we find many examples of how Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and उसमें से एक बहुत सुंदर हमें कहानी सुनने को मिलती है in the चैतन्य चरितामृत। कहानी नहीं है, ये एक्चुअली एक सत्य घटना है, क्योंकि एक पास टाइम है, लीला है। So there was this time in Vrindavan, there was this deity called Gopal ji, and बहुत फेमस मंदिर था, बहुत सुंदर विग्रह था, और दूर दूर से लोग आते थे उनके दर्शन करने के लिए, गोपाल के दर्शन करने के लिए। तो एक बार एक ब्राह्मण उड़ीसा से, यमुना से, उड़ीसा से आए थे गोपाल की सेवा करने, गोपाल का दर्शन करने। He was very old, and like most old people, he needed some help. He needed, मतलब to figure out प्रसाद कहाँ मिलेगा, रहने की जगह कहाँ पे है। And this other young boy sort of decided कि चलो I'm going to help you out. तो उन्होंने बहुत हेल्प किया उनको, उनको दर्शन कराए, उनको प्रसाद की व्यवस्था कराई, रहने की व्यवस्था कराई, सारा कुछ किया। And at the end of this old person was so grateful that he said that you're such a nice person, you're such a nice boy, कि मैं आपको अपनी बेटी का हाथ देना चाहता हूँ शादी में। And the boy said, नहीं, आप तो इतने उच्च कोटि के ब्राह्मण हो, and I'm not a very rich person, I don't have the means that you have, I don't come from the same background as you, so how can you do that? He says, नहीं, I think your heart is very pure, you're a great devotee, and I want to give you this my daughter's hand in marriage. And यहाँ पे गोपाल, जो ये विग्रह हैं गोपाल, ये साक्षी हैं इस बात के, मैं आपको अपनी बेटी का हाथ शादी में देना चाहता हूँ। तो वो ब्राह्मण मान गया, वो जो यंग लड़का था वो मान गया कि चलो ठीक है, गोपाल के सामने बोला है तो मतलब बहुत एक सिंसियर, ये एक वो है, क्योंकि ये एक प्रथा है कि हम भगवान के सामने झूठ नहीं बोलते हैं। आगे जब आप भक्ति में बढ़ेंगे, जब आप पढ़ेंगे, तो एक रूप गोस्वामी ने खास एक अलग से किताब लिखी है जहाँ पे उन्होंने सिर्फ अर्चविग्रह सेवा के बारे में और उसमें जो अपराध होते हैं उसके बारे में बताया हुआ है। उसमें से एक है कि भगवान के सामने, अर्चविग्रह के सामने, यू डोंट लाई, झूठ नहीं बोला जाता है। तो तब तो ये मान्यता थी ही, पीपल वर मच मोर सिंसियर बैक इन द डे। तो भगवान के सामने उसने ये अगर मतलब वो बोल दिया, उसको कमिटमेंट कर दिया, तो इट वाज कंसीडर्ड ऑफिशियल, साक्षी शादी होने वाली है, वेरी नाइस। तो फिर जो ये बुढ़ा ब्राह्मण था वापस गया उड़ीसा और जाके अपने बेटे को बताया, अपनी बेटी को बताया कि तुम्हारी शादी में फिक्स करके आ गया हूँ। तो उनका जो बेटा था उन्होंने बोला कि अरे तुमने ये क्या कर दिया। आई मीन अभी भी होता है ना, बहुत सारी बार हमारे पेरेंट्स हमसे बिना पूछे डिसीजन लेते हैं, एंड देन एक थोड़ा सा एक फाइट हो जाता है। तो तब भी वही हो रहा था कि व्हाई डिडंट यू कंसल्ट मी, मैंने अपनी बहन का ऑलरेडी रिश्ता एक किसी और बड़े घर में कर दिया है। एंड द ब्राह्मण गेट्स वेरी एम्बैरेस्ड, ही सेज अरे बट मैंने तो अपना वचन ऑलरेडी दे दिया है, हाउ कैन यू डू दिस, मैंने गोपाल के सामने वचन दिया है। तो इसे हाँ, गोपाल के सामने वचन दिया होगा, बेटा बोलता है कि गोपाल के सामने वचन दिया होगा, बट गोपाल थोड़ी आके कुछ बोलने वाला है, वो तो विग्रह है। What's going to happen? What's the worst that can happen, right? तो आने दो लड़के को बारात लेके, क्या फर्क पड़ेगा। कुछ एक्चुअल एविडेंस थोड़ी है, एक्चुअल एविडेंस नहीं है वहां पे, मूर्ति के सामने बोल दिया, खत्म बात। Sorry?
I can't follow Hindi.
Oh, sorry. Just okay. So should I tell from the beginning in English?
Please, sir.
Sure. Okay. Sorry. My bad. I didn't realize. Okay. So I'm just more comfortable in Hindi. So I'll tell you in English all over again. So in Vrindavan, there is this very well-known deity of Gopal, and many people from far and wide would come to take darshan of Gopal and to worship him and to serve him. It was a very famous temple, and I'm telling the story from many years ago, more than about 600 years ago. Um, so this one very old Brahmin from Odisha went to Vrindavan on pilgrimage to have darshan of Gopal. And because he was very old, he needed help with prasad, he needed help with rest. He wanted to find a place to sleep, a place to eat. It was an unknown place. He didn't really know. And Google didn't exist at that point. So there was this young boy who sort of, decided to help him out. So this young boy was helping the Brahmin in getting food, finding him a place to rest, taking him around Vrindavan, darshan, etc. So at the end of the trip, the old Brahmin was so pleased that he told the young boy that I am so pleased with you. You're such a nice person. You're such a nice devotee that I want you to marry my daughter. I am promising you that I will give you my daughter's hand in marriage. To which the young boy said that no, that's not going to work because you're from a very, upper class family, Brahmin family. Obviously, you're also very well to do. I can't afford, I'm not from that kind of background, and therefore it's not really a good match. To which the Brahmin said that no, but you're a very good person, you're a very good devotee, and therefore I think it's a very good match. We should, set this whole thing up. And he says that I will, in front of Gopal, in front of this deity who you've come to see, I give you my word that I will marry you to my daughter. And back in the day, it was a culture, and even now, actually, the culture is that at least in front of the Lord, you don't lie. You're not supposed to lie in general, but it's a very high standard to follow. But at least in front of the Lord, you don't lie. So, so when the old Brahmin, gave his word to the young boy in front of the Lord, the young boy was convinced that, okay, this is now a done thing. It's going to happen. And the old Brahmin said that, I'm now going to go to my village in Odisha to set up for the wedding. And you bring your relatives and we'll have the wedding and then you can take my daughter back. So giving this promise, the old Brahmin went to Odisha. And when he went there, he went and told the good news to his son and daughter that, I have given my hand to this very young, nice devotee I found in Vrindavan. He helped me out a lot. He has a great heart. And I'm going to marry the daughter to, my daughter to him. The son was very embarrassed. He said, no, you can't do that because I have already fixed up my sister's wedding with a nice boy that I have seen here, and he's rich, he's well-to-do, he's from the same caste as us, so you shouldn't have done this. And the father says, no, but I have given my word in front of the deity, in front of Gopal, I've given my word. So then the son says that, what, it's only a murti. It's only a statue. It's not really going to come and sure, you gave witness, but what's he going to do, right? He's not going to actually do anything. So then the father is not very convinced, but he says, okay, you're probably right. Now that, we have done this, let's go with it. He gets pressurized, so he agrees. Sure enough, a few days later, the young boy comes and says, you promised me your daughter's hand in marriage. I'm here for the wedding. Please, do the kanyadan, give me the daughter, let's get married. And then everyone gets shady and cagey and says, yeah, but what's the evidence? And the young boy says, but you told me in front of Gopal. Gopal was there. You said in front of him. And, that was your commitment. So then the young boy, that old Brahman's son, he says, what? Okay, sure, we said in front of Gopal. Where is Gopal? Bring him. In a court of law, if one person is saying something and the other person is, sort of defeating it, there has to be some evidence. No, you are saying that it was told in front of Gopal, and Gopal was the sakshi or the witness. Bring Gopal. Where is Gopal? And then the boy gets very agitated. He says, "Arey, but that's not really possible." And he says, "No, you bring Gopal. Otherwise, this agreement is null and void. It doesn't exist." So the boy, because he's a devotee, he has absolute faith in Gopal. He goes to Vrindavan and he goes and tells Gopal that, remember, my marriage was fixed in front of you. You were the witness, and now you have to come and bear witness to this marriage. You have to bear witness to this agreement. And sure enough, like I said, the Lord is non-different from his form. In the deity form, the Lord is very much the Lord. He's there. So Gopal talks to the boy and says, okay, sure, I was the witness. And if someone is lying to you on my behalf, it is therefore my responsibility to, come to you. So when this conversation is going on between the boy and Gopal, this is from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's a very beautiful verse. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling the story, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure who's telling the story in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, but there's a beautiful verse where, and the Chaitanya Charitamrita is this beautiful literature in Bengali, for those of you who don't know. In that verse, the boy says to Gopal, Pratima nahi tumi sakshat Brajendra Nandan. That you're not a statue. You are yourself the son of the Nanda Maharaj. You're non-different from Krishna. So you're not just a statue of Krishna. You're actually Krishna. And so you must come bear witness. And Krishna also agrees, yes, I'll come. And he says, but, so you walk in front of me, you lead the way, and I will follow you. And the boy says, but how will I know you're following me? He says, you'll know, don't worry. I will give you enough evidence to know that I'm following you. And we will rest, and you offer me bhog on the way. And I will come to Remuna to give you, to bear witness on your behalf. And actually, sure enough, the boy goes and Gopal follows him all the way to Remuna to bear witness that yes, marriage was promised, not being given, not okay. So of course, when Gopal comes to Remuna, everyone is amazed because they realize that this boy is actually a very great devotee, and therefore there could be no better match for the girl than this boy. And Gopal decides to make Remuna his home, and he is still there, and he is known by the name Sakshi Gopal. Sakshi means witness. So Sakshi Gopal is very much still in Remuna, bearing witness to the fact that Krishna is in his deity form is very much Krishna. He is himself there, and therefore can be witness to legal dealings, and he can be witness to our devotional service also, and to bear witness to the fact that he will protect his devotees no matter what. That is the kind of reciprocation that is available through Archa Vigraha form even today to all of us. It is not that Gopal is only that young boys and now this doesn't happen. Aajkal nahi hota hai. That's not the case. That reciprocity, that love, that affection, that opportunity to serve, that opportunity of Krishna being completely dependent on his devotees, and for us to enjoy that opportunity is available to us even now. And therefore, and this is just one such leela, such pastime, but there are many such pastimes across Shastra, which I'm sure Vijayamada Prabhu will tell you over the course of the many classes. But there are many such wonderful, pastimes of as recent as, like last year, that indicate clearly that the Lord is very much present in his form as Archa Vigraha and in his form as the holy name. And for anyone who is a serious aspirant of devotional life, someone who wants to remain in Krishna consciousness, who wants to lead a Krishna conscious life, who wants to make progress in devotional life, for such a person, the opportunity through the Archa Vigraha is available to offer him our love in the form of our worship, in the form of bhog, in the form of service such as bathing, dressing, shringar, arti, all these various things that we can do to serve, the Lord is available for us. And I'm using the word available not to indicate that he is cheaply available, but the fact that he is making himself available. It is his magnanimity, it is his mercy, it is his grace through which he is becoming available to us. And I think it is an opportunity that all serious aspirants of Krishna consciousness should try to take up. And like I said earlier, the worship of the deity at home doesn't have to be very elaborate like a temple. It's not possible practically for a lot of people. For those of us who it is possible to do, it should be done, because there is a whole other joy in that. But for those of us who can't, at least very, very simple worship we must start. And we are 1 month away from Janmashtami. It is 31st July. In a month, it is Janmashtami. It is Krishna's appearance. For those of us who don't have an altar at home, for those of us who don't have Krishna at home, I think it might be a good idea to start preparing and try to see if we can make Krishna appear in our lives as well, because it really does make us more serious in Krishna consciousness. I will reiterate that the chanting of the holy name is the most important Krishna conscious activity we can do in this Kali Yuga. Very, very important, most important. But deity worship is a close second, I would say. It's very, very important, because the two together and promises a very good sort of opportunity to be Krishna conscious throughout the day. With that, I think I don't really have that much more to say. I've taken enough of your time, I think. And if there are any questions, any comments, anything you would like to discuss on Archa Vigraha Seva, on deity worship, I'm happy to open the floor to that.
Prabhuji, every time, actually, I just wanted to share, every time I come to the session, I think that session is for me. So yesterday only, earlier, there were deities, but, maybe I was not pure enough. I wasn't doing seva. So I just started doing, diya in the morning and diya in the evening. And yesterday night, before I slept, I started doing my morning chanting and Bhagavad Gita. Before I slept, I usually open one Gita page and, I sleep with that. So yesterday in the night, I read this same shloka which you said that we can offer, fool, patti, fruit, and water. And today, I got the opportunity that you also mentioned the same. But from the very beginning, I was only this thing about when I'm not at home. There are times when we are traveling. There are times when, we are not at home. So then how do we take that responsibility that, Krishna is being taken care at home? Because there would be no one else to do that for him. So in those cases, what is the solution?
That's a wonderful question, I think, because it's a very practical question. We just take our deity with us. And we don't go to places where there is no facility to serve him. It's a little, but actually, very recently, before the pandemic, we had gone to a wedding in Delhi, and we had to stay in a hotel room, but we still took our deity with us, and along with the deity, we also took all the things, the basic things that are required for his service. So we had his bowl, we had a water glass, we had Bisleri bottles that we could use to sort of fill his water glass, and we carried some dry bhoga that we made at home. So dry fruits, we made some dry matris, some misri we carried with us. And of course, because we don't have the clean kitchen of the hotel, we can't offer anything from there. But at least that very basic, a small little diya. And you get, thankfully in India, these facilities, you get all these things in miniature as well, right? So we have a very small diya. So literally in this much of a box, and about a 15 by 15 sort of setup, we took everything with us. And we were trying our best to take care of Krishna. Of course, it wasn't as good as we could do at home. But that's one option available. You just carry your entire setup, and sure enough, wherever you go, if you're going to a relative's house or a hotel or on vacation, wherever, I'm sure we can carve out a small space for Krishna. So that's one thing we can do. If your deities are really big, another thing you could do is you can actually carry a picture of your deities. So my Radha Krishna deities are very large. So when we travel, we have a small Gopal deity, and we have about 12-inch Radha Krishna. We're very heavy and almost impractical to really travel with. So we have a picture of them which we take, and we continue our routine around them, but in the picture form. So that's another thing you can do. Another thing that one does is, in case you cannot travel with the deity, then at the very least you take the picture and in your home altar, you leave some bhog for the Lord to have while you're not there. So, you keep a box of dry fruits, a glass of water covered nicely, so that at least that little care is being taken, and well, that's really the best we can do. No, ideal is if we can travel with the Lord. If we can't, then the next best case scenario, travel with a picture of the Lord at least, and do the service in the best possible way that we can do. And at home, you leave some bhog, and when you come back, then so typically when we are traveling, in case you know, if we, in case for some reason we can't, I mean, that doesn't really happen, but we still make it a point that when we come back home, we have a big feast. We cook a big feast for our deities at home, so that it's almost like a sorry we weren't around sort of a gesture. But one can do that. That's another option. Mataji is saying that you can also request another family member to take care while you're away, and that's also a great idea. I mean, for sure.
And Prabhuji, one more thing. Now that if someone new like me, would want a deity at home, so then there are forms like Laddu Gopal, and then there is Radha Krishna. So then, how do you like you have both of them at home? So in the beginning, as a beginner, is there something very particular that this deity you can get home, or something like that?
Yeah, so there is. Srila Prabhupada always stressed that it's best to have Gaur Nitai at home, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu at home. That was Srila Prabhupada's recommendation because they're very, very, very merciful. They've appeared in this age to give the holy name to everybody. They're extremely kind. And therefore, even if we are not really up to the mark, we are still sort of learning and we're figuring things out. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu are very, very merciful. And so even if we are making some mistakes, we're making some, we're not getting things right. Sometimes the salt in the dal is too much, or we put, the halwa isn't sweet enough. The Lord doesn't mind that so much. Anyways, even Krishna doesn't mind it. Let's be clear on that. But no, I think Gaurnitai is very kind and very accepting of devotees' love. So that's in my opinion, actually Srila Prabhupada's opinion, that's the best thing we can do for home. Sorry. Balmukund Balla Prabhu is asking, is deep devotion in the mind more important than physical devotion? Prabhu, I think we can tell people we love them all we want, but unless we showcase love, if we truly love somebody, we will want to serve them. It's very difficult for us to separate like I said in the beginning, intangible and tangible ko alag-alag wo nahi hota hai. If we love someone, it will come through physical devotion. If we love our children, we will hug them. Our minds, our bodies are designed in a manner to express physically our emotions, our feelings. And I think in the pandemic, I'm sure a lot of us experienced this. No? So many of us have relatives, friends who we want to meet, who we want to hug, we want to talk to, we want to just sit in their physical presence and eat, have a meal. And I'm sure a lot of us have struggled with that. I know personally I have. So if there is deep devotion in the mind, Prabhu, it will come out through physical service. So is deep devotion in the mind important? It's extremely important. But if it's there in the mind, some physical act of service will be an outcome. And if physical service is not happening, if there is physical service is absent to the Lord or to his devotees, then we need to introspect and see whether our devotion is truly devotion or is it merely sentiment. Because devotion cannot exist without a manifestation in service. I hope that's okay, and I'm happy to talk to you more about that. But that's at least what we've learned from Shastra.
Balmukunda Prabhu, you can maybe unmute or if you want to come on camera.
Okay. So Priya Mataji has raised her hand. Oh, Prabhu's coming. Yes, Prabhu.
No, that's fine. I do appreciate the physical aspect of worship as well. But where it's not possible is what we were discussing.
Oh, yes.
So I thought that
Oh, yeah.
point needs to come up clearly, that the physical aspect is physical, the mental aspect is more important than that. In the situations where you cannot manifest physically.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, in a situation where it's not possible, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The mental devotion for sure is not bound by physical situations.
As long as we put to Krishna at the end, Sri Krishna Arpanamastu, that should take care of it, in absence of deities in front of us.
Absolutely.
Because word itself as good as it. Is that right?
That's true, yes. But one thing that you're absolutely right, Balmukund. You're understanding in terms of Krishna being there in his name, and therefore, where physically doing some service is not possible, to do service at least in the mind, to be devoted and to remember Krishna even when he's not physically present, that is spot on. That is critical for all of us. But one thing that we must caution ourselves as devotees who are trying to be serious is that we shouldn't use that as an excuse. Because I know a lot of people may not, but I know a lot of people are also prone to doing that, saying, you know what, I'm, like I said in the beginning, that it's too much effort to just, I can physically do it, but it's too much effort to do it. So let me therefore then not do it. And I need to then console my mind to say ki, because the conscience is there. The conscience will say, you're not being a devotee. So then you tell the mind that, nahi, mentally Krishna hai. We need to be sure that mentally actually Krishna hai. Wo sincerity jo hai, that sincerity it's important to have, and that we are the best judge of our own selves, really. We as human beings, I think, as deluded as we may be, a little introspection all of us can do and really look into ourselves and see whether our devotion is truly devotion, and therefore even in separation of physical service, I'm doing the best I can, which is offer my mind. That's perfect. Are we doing that? Or are we using Krishna's intangible form as some sort of a excuse for us to not do any service? That's an introspective thing that we need to do. But that being said, yes, in absence of physical service, deep devotion in the mind is Krishna understands that completely. Priya Mataji, you were saying something. Sorry.
When people get attached to their own deities or idols or statues at home, that's also a kind of attachment to it. And that attachment is not recommended in Bhagavad Gita itself, that anything that you get attached to, you should learn to detach from it as well. So that detachment is also important. And that's why I use the word deep devotion, not superficial devotion. Deep devotion, deep inside you, is far more important than physical attachment to your home deity or temple deity. Although it's important, and they get, like you said in the talk, it's that Kendra Bindu in that. And yes, I agree that there is higher energy in these places and these and deities for that matter. What matters ultimately is how devoted you yourself are. And you said that as well in your talk. So.
Yes, I did, but I also said categorically that the deity in the temple. So should we be attached to material things? No. Very clear on that. Absolutely not. But the temple at home, Krishna, the deity, these are not material things. They're not the same. So one cannot categorize being attached to physical possessions as being attached to Krishna, because these are completely different things. So when I say Krishna, I mean Krishna's, and the Bhagavad will confirm this, and even the Bhagavad Gita actually, Prabhupada talks about very clearly that name, form, activities, pastimes, devotees. These are all things. So the definition of Krishna, the definition of God has all these things encapsulated within it. So the deity form of Krishna also actually, Shastra says, is not different from Krishna. And so if you're being attached to the deity form of the Lord, even if it's at home, you're attached to Krishna. And that attachment, therefore, is not something one should be detached from. It's not detrimental to spiritual life at all.
Just one quick point to add here. So our process is not just detachment, right? It's actually detachment from material things, but actually.
Attachment to Krishna.
So the real goal is really to attach ourselves to Krishna, and therefore we need to also detach to certain. And in fact, in the process of trying to get attached to Krishna, the renunciation automatically comes for other material things. So if more and more you actually get attached to the deity worship or serving the Lord at home or in temple, naturally you will be detached to all material things, negative things. Is that okay?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It may not be everyone's taste also, I must say this. That's something I said in the beginning. It may not be everyone's taste to do it. If किसी को अर्चक वगैरह की सेवा करना पसंद नहीं आता है, उनको आप लाख सिखाओ, लाख समझाओ कि this is a supreme personality of Godhead in his form, सेवा करना अच्छा है, but अगर they don't have the taste for it, they don't like doing it, but they prefer to chant the holy name, and they prefer to read and associate with Krishna in that intangible form, and they can genuinely do it, then that's completely okay as well, because then some people just don't have that taste. But even those people should know that that doesn't mean that the Lord in the temple is something that is maybe an inferior realization, or it is, something that is not important. That understanding should not be there. It should be very clear that yes, deity worship is there. Then there is chanting and reading and philosophy and associating with Krishna through that. My taste is to not do that much deity worship, and therefore I may choose to not do it also, but completely remain focused on the holy name and attached to the holy name and maybe serving the devotees. That's an understanding also that one can have, but it should sort of, that understanding of the fact that the deity form of the Lord is non-different from the holy name, is non-different from, Krishna as we know him as the Supreme Lord, that we should know for sure.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yamaji, sorry, you had your hand raised for a while.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for a lovely session. I have a sharing and a question, may I?
Yeah,
so first sharing is around 8 to 9 years back, had attended, decoration part for Janmashtami, and you were the head then, like always. And so that was my first time now I was doing. So things were going up and down, right? Like not in order, like a little gap extra here, a little less here. And you kept telling like me, because I was new, definitely, and very courteously you told me. And the time I always thought, I mean, thoda upar niche hoga, it's okay. No, I mean, why is he like, it was just a thought, na, ki why is he focusing so much attention on this? And it was not right behind Radha Rasbihari ji, it was just on the side that was going. But I just took it, you saying, I followed. I said, why not, improve and learn. I did it. So, but today that question is solved. Like, so not just doing it for the heck of doing it, but actually doing it the right way, the way we would do for ourselves. We should also, choose, in fact, should do even better. Now I understand why you told us that time. And second question, a little heavy for me today. Like one way we know Lord Krishna is independent. And today the point strong came was Krishna is dependent on us. Where he can't talk. I mean, he doesn't need anything from us.
He doesn't need.
So then how does he, like you mentioned about Yashoda Maya, not understand, but yeah, we read in the books, right? So that is fine. He's a son. But here, I mean, how is he dependent?
Is that a question or a realization?
No, this is a question. Second
How
one
is
is
he dependent on us? I think that is the Lord's mercy, no? He's see, Krishna has no other real interest than to associate with his devotees. He doesn't. If you read again Bhagavad and Vijay Prabhu, I do hope that our class sort of goes through Bhagavad Gita and then we can go to Bhagavad, because Bhagavad is really truly beautiful. in the Bhagavad, I mean, one, and even in other Shastra, actually, there is a question that what does the Lord actually do? Right? The Lord Krishna, all of this, everything else that he's doing, all these things that to us seem like big deals, like, oh my God, there's a whole pandemic going on, and like Krishna needs to take care of that, and then there's floods, and then weather, and to us they feel like there's a lot going on in the material world, and Krishna must have to put a lot of effort to manage all this, right? He actually doesn't have to. For us, these are very big things. I got my AC repaired yesterday. For me, that was the task that took up my entire day, really, and for me, that was the highlight of my day that it finally got done. Krishna not like that. He's not limited like us. For him, everything that's happening in the material world is just like a very, like I said, it's just a spark of his splendor. Everything else, Krishna is all about reciprocating with his devotees. So if you invited Krishna in your home in the deity form, and he has appeared there, it may, from an external perspective, feel as simple as going to a Vrindavan shop and paying like 1,000 rupees and bringing a deity home. It may seem as mundane as that, and it's unfortunate sometimes the devotees also look at it like that, or people look at it like that, not devotees, but people may look at it and think कि तो बहुत actually बहुत mundane चीज है, इसमें कुछ, but the truth is that actually, if Krishna has decided to appear in your house and you invited him with your devotion, you've told him that Krishna, please come and stay with me in my house. He's coming in that form to enjoy your love and care. That doesn't mean that Krishna is not your caretaker, that he is not your Lord and Master, that he is not, Jagannath, he is not Tribhuvaneshwar, all these words that are used to define Krishna. It is not that he is not those things as well. He very much is. But in your house, when he comes, he is coming to be completely dependent on your care. And so, I mean, that's what he's doing. So Srila Prabhupada, actually, I was just reading in preparation of this class, he says that Krishna may appear as a small baby, but that doesn't mean that we treat him like a baby. He is still the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada says that to remind us that, we shouldn't take Krishna in the home as casually as we might take our own children, maybe. That's one thing to look at it. But at the same time, Prabhupada has said it many times that when, the Lord is in the temple or at home, he is waiting for our service. He is there to accept our service, and therefore, to that extent, yes, he is dependent on us. That is the relationship that Krishna has. It's just how it is.
Thank you so much. Till now, that connection I feel was not there. When I used to see Vijay Madhav Prabhuji like doing so much for deities, and I used to be like, when will this happen? How will it happen? For me, probably my attention was towards other services and Lavanya, but I shouldn't take anything. I shouldn't take what I have been gifted with for granted. I just realized that.
Yeah, and the simple thing to do is, actually, like I said, like when you have a small child, I think for a mother it's very difficult because a lot of attention goes into raising a child. I understand that completely. So then, therefore, you have an agreement with the Lord. Like I'm sure you have with Lavanya, right? So breakfast, lunch, dinner, to dena hi dena hai. Like a walk in the park may or may not be possible, but at least breakfast, lunch, dinner hona hai. With your Lord also, have a setting. And Krishna will accept whatever you offer him. So you do the best you can. And if your best is very simple, let it be very simple, but let it be consistent.
It is possible, but it was not my priority. Honestly, that connection was not there. So I accept, I confess, but now things will hopefully with mercy of all devotees, things will change. Thank you so much for today's session, Prabhuji. Okay, she's shy. She ran away. Thank you.
Thank you. Mansi Mataji has a question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for the wonderful.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I wanted to ask, where in Vrindavan was this Gopalji's temple before?
It was in Govardhan, I think,
okay.
But I'm not sure exactly where it is. Today, as of now, it's in Remuna in Odisha.
I've been there. There I have been.
Okay.
Very much close to the Jagannath Puri, right?
Yeah.
There only.
Yeah.
So, Prabhuji, when I was reading Chaitanya Charitamrit, it said over there that when Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to visit the South India, when he went to visit, he heard about the story, and then later the people over there, they saw that there was no difference between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sakshi Gopal. So we know that there is no difference, So one thing I totally agree with that. And then they said that the color was also non-different. So my question is, because I have seen it was the cloud color, Sakshi Gopal, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in golden. So I wanted to ask, how is it that the narration says that the color was also not different?
So I haven't read this. I mean, I've read it, but a very long time ago. So I'm not being able to place exactly. But but your question basically is that Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Gauravarn, and Sakshi Gopal is Shyam Sundar. So then how could it be the same? I think a lot of times Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to different devotees has appeared as Krishna himself also. So a lot of devotees, when they've seen Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they have seen Krishna himself in his dark complexion as well. So perhaps that might be the case, but I'm not sure. But Vijay Mahaprabhu, Vararupa Mataji is here. Maybe I'm going to defer the question to more senior devotees to perhaps clarify better.
I missed it. I was just a phone came through. What was the question, please?
So Mataji, the question is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard the story of Sakshi Gopal in South India, and there it is being described that the devotees in South India who were describing the story said that they saw no difference in the form of Sakshi Gopal and the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the color also. And Mataji's question is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his form is golden, whereas Sakshi Gopal is Shyam Sundar, he's dark. And therefore, how is that specific point on complexion? How did they realize that even the complexion of the both of them is the same? That's Mataji's question. It's a very specific CC question, which at this point I don't recollect.
Yes, I think even I remember that it mentions that just for the sake of those devotees taking darshan, that Mahaprabhu was trying to say that there's no difference between him and Krishna. So it became the same varna, the same color.
Right.
That they were non-different.
So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was manifesting that form for the devotees to make a point that he's non-different from Krishna. Okay. Thank you, Mataji.
Okay.
Mataji, I hope that's okay.
Yes. So he manifested himself in that form. Is that what you're saying? May have. Because that was not mentioned there. Like somewhere, in Gambhira, it is mentioned that his body became elongated, and he showed, for example, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, his form. So, that was not mentioned so clearly. That is the reason I asked this question, If that was mentioned that he took and manifested, then it would have been so crystal clear, They were sitting there and they saw that the color was also same. So I was like, wow, how did he change color? That was what I felt.
But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has done this many times over, Mataji. Yes, where it is important for him to make a point that he's Krishna himself, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has done that other times as well. So from that, we can infer that he might have done this also in South India.
Yeah, he has taken that form, and there Krishna's Kabir mentions that he took the form of this one or that incarnation. He does it for his devotees, for the pleasure of his devotees.
Yeah.
Over here, it wasn't mentioned, so that's why. Okay, Prabhuji, Mataji.
Mataji is making a very important point that he's done this for his very special devotees.
Yeah, he does that for the special devotees. Yes. Because you have to have the faith. That's why. If you have the faith, then he will manifest himself, right?
Well, faith and mercy both.
Yes.
With Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, the beauty is that you may not have any faith and you may not have any good qualities, but they will still give you Krishna. They're just super merciful. So that's why, in fact, I was answering to the other Mataji who asked the question about who should we have at home. I think it should be Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu first, because whether you have devotion or not, they will make sure you get it, because that is their avatar is about that. So,
but some people don't know yet, about God Nitai so much. So I think they have also mentioned that Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra can also be bought, because they are also very merciful, and you can offer them bhog and everything, and they are very, very merciful. They come out to give darshan, so they can come to your house also to give darshan.
Yes,
They are
for
very
sure. For sure.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so I think, are there any more questions or comments or?
Yeah, Prabhuji, I have a question here. What is the difference between homes which have a mandir and a deity worship, and who do occasionally, like many friends of mine are abroad, they just do deity worship if there is major Ekadashi or on Lakshmi Puja, and they are also happy, we are also happy. Like, so what's the major difference of vibes which you get at home when you don't worship deity every day?
I think the fundamental difference is that in our attitude towards the Lord, no. So, ek to hota hai ki what am I getting from Krishna, and the other is what am I giving, right? So when it comes to doing puja on occasion, see anything spiritual, any spiritual activity done even rarely is good. It's amazing, and it has great benefit to the person who's doing it. But when it comes to bhakti, or the definition of bhakti in English is devotional service. Devotional service or bhakti, that's not a part-time thing. It's not an occasional thing. I can't be a devotee on Ekadashi and like just a not so much of an interested devotee on other days. I may be more committed to being spiritual on an Ekadashi versus other days, perhaps. But bhakti is like an identity, If you see yourself as someone who is a spiritually minded person, that has to be a part of your identity that is consistent. You have to be a spiritual minded person on a daily basis. Doing our puja, doing our archana at home, doing our seva at home to Krishna, that's actually something that we do on a daily basis, and the difference really will be in the way you experience it also, and what you want. If you want to truly become a bhakta, become a devotee, become someone who is truly Krishna conscious in that sense, in the way the Bhagavad Gita talks about it, then all of these things are a matter of practice, just like someone who wants to exercise and build a body, for example, someone wants to get really fit, they can't decide to just exercise a few times and then be surprised that nothing is happening, So, I mean, it's, Prangamath is saying that the simple answer is the more you do, more God will like it. So it depends on you. Yes, it depends on you, absolutely. And it's up to us really how we experience and what we want from our lives and from our relationship with Krishna. If you want to have an occasional relationship with Krishna, that will be Krishna's relationship with us also, very occasionally committed. But if you want to have a more intimate daily connection, that's also as much interest Krishna has shown us. So, does that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Just to add a quick point to that, so our movement is actually to cultivate our desire to serve the Lord. So we come together to associate so that we cultivate this desire to serve the Lord. And the more and more you develop this mood of serving, right, the more Krishna will empower you to do more. and there is famous quote by Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj. He says, when your desire to serve Krishna exceeds your capacity to serve him, that is the time when empowerment happens. So Krishna will empower you, increase your capacity, and you'll be doing so much more. And we practically see that there are so many leaders of ISKCON, gurus and sannyasis. Their schedule is just impossible, right? for a regular human being even to survive that for a few days, it seems impossible. And there are too many examples like that. So yeah, Krishna empowers you more and more, the more you kind of try to move towards. Okay, so it's 12:57. If there are any more questions, I think we typically end around 12:45 or 1 o'clock like this. So we would want to keep on time. But if there are more questions, maybe one or two very short questions we can take and finish it. Otherwise, Apurva Gopal Prabhu is available, and we can pass on his number and you can ask more questions about deity worship.
Share about Chandni program.
Anyone has any other questions?
I think, Prabhu, the challenge is that the questions are quite short, but the answers are very long.
Yeah.
I've left my number on the chat for anyone who wants to reach out.
I don't know what you want to say. You say.
The Cobra one.
Okay, Harshita wants to say something. Harsha. Quickly.
Hare Krishna.
Very well.
Apurva Prabhuji, thank you so much. So I'm doing deity worship, but all the information was new. Thank you so much. So while you were speaking, I just remembered that such intimate relations, like this devotee Pankajani Prabhu. Why don't you say the example? So once there was Mayapur temple was flooded.
Sorry, my bad.
Pankajangri Prabhu, who is the pujari for Narsimhadev altar, he was still there. I mean, it was so flooded that the water almost reached the chest level of the devotees inside. But the pujari was inside, he was doing aarti and he was doing his regular seva. And he saw there was a cobra over there, a poisonous cobra. But Pankajangri Prabhu did not leave the altar. He said, I'm with Narsimhadev, what more? I mean, so much faith in the deity and nothing happened. The cobra left. So, yeah, while you were speaking, I just think that such intimate relation is possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even I can share one. Once on a Krishna deity, I think something like this happened. That they forgot to put the peacock leaf on top, a peacock feather on top, and an actual peacock came from somewhere and stood just above that head of Krishna, and they took a photo of him. And then they realized that, Krishna doesn't have that peacock on top, and this peacock has actually come and he's actually standing behind that deity. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my point is that the point I was making is that this is, this happens because Krishna himself is present, and that opportunity does not only happen with quote unquote big temples. We think that yes, bade mandiron mein hota hai, but it's not a big temple phenomena. It's a big devotion phenomena. So if Krishna is at home, anyone's home, and we are completely committed to serving him, and we are convinced that that's Krishna himself, Krishna will also reciprocate with us exactly like this. Because Krishna is actually there. The minute we realize that and we serve him like that, Krishna will also reciprocate with us exactly like that. There's no limitation to what Krishna can do. So there are many such stories, I think, throughout Shastra.
Okay, so anyone else has any other questions? Quick questions. Otherwise, we'll end here. Prabhuji has already kindly shared the number, and let's all of us, thank Apurva Gopal Prabhu for sharing, what he is really passionate about, devotional about, not just passion. So we can thank him for sharing his experiences, which was really inspires me every time I hear from him. So let us chant 3 times, or at least 1 time, Hare Krishna Mahamantra for him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
So anyone here who wants to learn more about how to worship or serve Krishna at home, or maybe wants a photo frame, deities maybe come later, but at least you start with a photo frame, if not deities immediately. So you can get in touch with either me or Parthapriya Prabhu or even Apurva Gopal Prabhu. So we can help you, maybe get a frame at your place and you can have some worship. All right, so we are already late. We'll end here today. Typically, we generally do some kirtan in the end, but I think it's already 1, so we'll stop here. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, for a very nice
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.